On January 23rd, 2025, horror struck a quiet village in Indonesia. A woman's mutilated body was discovered, head and legs missing, stuffed inside a red police box. Investigators later learned her body had been chopped into 4 parts and dumped in different locations. Who was this woman, and who could carry out such a gruesome act? Welcome to the X Story by P. Let's uncover this chilling and tragic story. That morning, a villager from Havi village in Ichawara province went out to search for thieves. As he rummaged through a black garbage bag, something inside caught his eye. Curious and thinking it might contain food or recyclables, he reached in and pulled out a tightly wrapped package. It looked clean from the outside, but when he lifted it, he felt something strange. It was unusually heavy. As he slowly opened it, a foul, rotting stench hit him like a wave. He almost fainted. What he saw inside wasn't food. It was a pile of red-stained material that at first glance looked like flowers. But on closer inspection, he realized the red was blood. Panicked, he called the police immediately. Officers arrived on the scene and discovered a woman's dismembered body, missing its head and both legs. Her body was dumped completely naked, giving investigators no clothing or jewelry to help identify her. Her left leg had been severed from the thigh, and her right leg was cut off at the knee. A rope found near the scene suggested she had been tied up before death. This wasn't a random act. It was cold-blooded and planned. A forensic exam revealed the victim was a young woman, approximately 20 years old, standing around 1.2 meters tall. She wore a silver bracelet on her wrist and a single earring on her left ear. Bruises covered her right arm, and her body bore multiple injuries, evidence of abuse. The cause of death? Asphyxiation. She had likely been strangled using the rope found near her body. Though the killer had removed her head, her hands remained. Police scanned her fingerprints into their database and matched them to a woman named Nai Sova Thun Kosna, 29 years old. To be sure, they conducted a DNA test using a sample from Kosna's mother. The results confirmed the terrible truth. The mutilated victim was indeed Nai Sovathan Kosna. Kosna had been born on April 25, 1995, in Beta District, Ishka Province. She was known to be an obedient and responsible child, but her life was never easy. Her parents divorced when she was still young, each moving on to start new families, leaving Kosna behind. She was raised by her grandmother in emotional isolation, never receiving the warmth or love she craved. Throughout her life, Kosna longed for emotional connection. She married for the first time in 2015 to a man from her village with whom she had a son in 2018. They later divorced. She married again that same year and had a daughter, but that marriage also ended quickly. In 2022, she married a man named Rachintra Hathoot, who lived in Thalung, Cork. She moved there to live with him and worked selling cosmetics. But her family had never met this third husband. They didn't even know what he looked like. Every time they asked about him, Kosna simply said, "He couldn't come. He's busy with work." Her words made it clear. She didn't want to talk about him. Despite this, she was a dutiful daughter, sending money monthly to help her family build a house. Tragically, the house was never completed. On January 17, 2025, her family saw her for the last time as she drove away to return to Thalung, Cork. She never came back. Her family hadn't questioned her much. She was always busy, independent, and stayed in guest houses rather than her own home. No neighbors had seen her bring anyone around, but she insisted she was married. So who was this husband? Police began investigating a man named Ron, suspected to be her fourth husband. Oddly, after Cosna's death made national news, this man never contacted the police, never attended her funeral, and showed no concern. He was arrested shortly after. Police started to suspect that the name Rachintra might have been a lie. They tracked down a landlord named Jur, who said the last time he saw Cosna was on January 19th when she drove off in a white Mazda pickup truck. Investigators traced the truck but found it had been sold. The new owner knew nothing. However, through the truck's documents, they discovered the seller, Roman Trehatoto, Cosna's third husband. Roman wasn't just a car dealer, he was also a boxing coach with a well-furnished house in Thalung, Kong. So why had Cosna been staying in guest houses? Roman told police bluntly, "We weren't married. We met a few times. I already have a wife and kids. Cosna is just a lover." According to him, they had no official relationship and only met at hotels. They had broken up, but Cosna's friends painted a very different picture. She had been deeply in love. Roman had told her that he was unhappy in his marriage, that he and his wife were emotionally distant. Cosna believed him. She hoped he would leave his wife and start a new life with her. But those hopes were crushed when she discovered his wife was pregnant again. Furious and betrayed, she confronted him. On the night of January 19th, CCTV footage showed Roman and Cosna entering a restaurant. They seemed happy, smiling, holding hands. After dinner, they went to a hotel and booked room 301. That night, Cosna once again brought up the issue of divorce. She asked Roman why he was still with his wife. He grew angry. She accused him of lying. The argument escalated until he violently struck her. She retaliated, throwing a glass and slapping him. That's when he snapped. He punched her. She screamed. He covered her mouth and strangled her. In a matter of moments, Cosna stopped breathing. She died at his hands, alone in a hotel room. Instead of calling police, Roman called a relative, Mahamal, claiming he forgot his wallet. At around 2 a.m., they returned to the hotel. Realizing he couldn't fit her body into the suitcase, they made a horrifying decision. They cut her body into pieces. They severed her legs, removed her head, placed the remains into plastic bags and barrels. It took 4 hours. Then they cleaned the room. The next day, they loaded everything into a car and drove to an abandoned house owned by a godfather, often used to store stolen goods. They planned every detail. Roman even sold the car used in the murder for 57 million real, about $3,498. On January 21st, they crossed the river and dumped her body in parts, forests, garbage piles, and even near villages. On January 22nd, Roman returned to destroy more evidence. He wanted to ensure there was nothing that could link the body to Kosna. But it was too late. By January 26th, police had tracked him down. They arrested him at a red light. He did not resist. He confessed everything. He even led them to the place where he dumped her head, under a bridge, and the spot where her legs were buried. But something didn't add up. He claimed to have dismembered the body using a small fruit knife. Yet forensic experts found no blood or tissue on the blade. It was perfectly clean. No scratches, no damage. So what tool was really used? And what was Mahamal's true role in this? At a press conference on January 27th, Roman appeared publicly. He apologized to his wife, to Kosna's family, and to his children. But he showed no true remorse. He blamed the victim. He claimed she manipulated him, took his money, sent messages about his child, and cheated on him. But her friends strongly disagree. They said she was kind, honest, and generous, that she never cared about money. The truth is murky. Experts believe Roman had deep psychological issues, jealousy, obsession, and a need for control. Perhaps he had planned this for a long time. Perhaps it was a moment of rage. But in the end, a woman who only wanted love and a better life was brutally betrayed, murdered, and dismembered. Her story is one of heartbreak, horror, and tragedy.